All right, you said Scotty, you said Mike. That's what we do. I mean, look, I just had a whole look before we get the show. I just had a whole long conversation with Ashley Baker, whose show we was on, about super teams. And I said, look, you want to call these teams super teams because she tried to say the Lakers are super team because of LeBron and AD because they two top 5 players. I said, you got to call Michael and Scotty a super team. Bottom line. But I tell you one thing, the wrestling realm, we're a super show.
Houston, we have a problem.
Yes! What you gonna do? 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 Oh yeah.
Woo! What up, everybody? Welcome to Wrestling Realm Now. I am Brian H. Waters. I'm joined by the remarkable, the impeccable, the one, the only, my brother, the real Dwayne Allen. What's up, bro?
What's cracking? What's do? What it do? What it do? What it do? I didn't even say any words. I just said like, I'm here. There we go.
You know, I was sitting back these past couple of weeks. You know, I was going through the Wrestling Realm channel, and I was watching the old stuff, and I was like, wow, I remember that that first intro promo. And he was like, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am the new host of the Wrestling Realm, and we come here to do this and that in this. I was like, yo, whoa, don't go there. And we have to hit the pause button. That's the only, if there's any regret that I have over these 10 years, if there's any, that's the only one. Or that's at the top of the list.
There has got to be footage of that. Like we couldn't have erased the original cut from that. Bro, you still got the handy cam?
So I actually gave it to my sister, but you remember with the handy cam, we was using SD cards, and who knows where those SD cards. I mean, those didn't even. We can't even use those today because they're not even.
They wouldn't even read.
10.
Right. They right. Like what is this? Take this trash out of my computer slot.
That might have been a 4 gig because now I think about it, it might have been a 4 gig because I hadn't got the DSLRs yet. And I knew once I got the DSLRs, I had to get a class 10. Shout out to AJ Golden, who was always good brother hooking us up with like the knowledge of stuff to get. But I didn't get that. So, you know, with that SD card might have been just a 4 gig. Now think about it.
No, yeah, it's all coming back to me. It makes sense now. I remember that. But that was it's such an epic way to start the journey that we've been on for such a freaking long time. But I will say, I think things panned out pretty okay. But that first cut though was vicious.
Oh, and people wonder, they will hear about it soon and very soon. They will hear about it. Yeah, when the upcoming, I gotta give a special shout out to Sweet Pod. I was on there, Twitter Spaces, which is similar to Clubhouse. I'm not sure if you got a chance to delve into it yet, but they had opened up one right before Rebellion last night, and he said, "Man, I got to give you your props." I said, "What's up?" He said, "Your intro is the hardest one." He said, "You guys and the Big Gold Belt podcast," and I was like, "Oh man, I appreciate that." We actually supposed to be joining them this week. He said, "Your intro is like the best right now," and then he also gave credit to you, which is the NWO spoof video. I said, look, man, I said, there's nobody who studied it like Dwayne. He said, man, I was going to do it. He said, but once y'all did, I couldn't touch it.
Hey, man, you have no idea how many years I looked at that video. I was like, man, I got to do some version of that. But no, that's a big deal though. Like that's the fun part about what we do. You know what I mean? Being able to, explore every option and use every tool and skill that we have to kind of produce the best product and, to create the best content that we possibly can.
Yeah, man.
We got a good intro, but still, I still think the best intro I've ever heard has got to be E-Rock and Charlie Speedy podcast intro.
I got to find it. I'm going to ask them. Shout out to E-Rock. He's on really heavy in the TikTok world. Okay. So, yeah, me and E-Rock talk. Me and Charlie Speed are still what's that app called? PlayStation Friends, but we haven't talked in a long time. So I gotta hit them up because we gotta get them on the show, no doubt about it.
Absolutely, that's a long time coming. That's something we were trying to do for years. It just
heck yeah.
But then once we all became adults and moved around in careers, and Charlie was trying to become a wrestler and his amazing weight loss journey, and then E-Rock went back to school, and then he started producing television, and so he's been those guys, man. They were. That was probably my favorite podcast at the time, outside of our show at the time, man. But that podcast, A Pain and Joy, and they had two versions of it. I was like, oh man, it's a remix.
Yep.
Remember, they came back for a quick minute, but then, like I said, life always finds a way to kind of get in the way. So,
yeah, that's the thing about podcasting, man. And unless you really gotta something has to be a sacrifice has to be made, right? Like I look at, I play my video games, but even today, just trying to get ready for today's show, I was like, man, I ain't got time to play MLB The Show as much as I want to, but I'm watching wrestling and I'm making sure the kids are straight. I was like, so some things you just got to put aside. It's almost, and that's one thing that people always credit us for doing this for 10 years. They said just the dedication to be able to do something like this for 10 years, which hasn't been easy.
No, I mean, that's the biggest thing. We just haven't walked away from it. We always find a reason to come back, and it's something that we've always been passionate about. It's something that has always gone on in some type of way. It's just that, now we're at a place where we feel a need to do it by the standards in which we've always wanted to do it at. So we're able to do it now, and we're still having fun doing it. So, you're having fun working, you never work another day in your life. So.
Exactly, man. And guess what? The business is booming. We dropped the WrestleMania 37 post show. Shout out to our brother Andre Melton coming in the 9th inning, and I went back and listened to that, and man, I was rolling.
It's a party, man. Anytime Wrealm, Flex Zone, Drizzy Dre, it's a party. That's where it's always been. We used to go to the studios and we used to shoot for Dre for the Flex Zone doing stuff, and we would be there almost 2 or 3 hours after we done wrapping up. Yeah, that's just the type of fun we have. So it never gets old.
Yeah,
that's the guy do it again.
I was with you, so I was always good. I ain't had to worry about the wife said, where you been at all night long? Because she knew how it is. Me and you get to working together on something, we're gonna put it out all into it. And that was the thing, and clearly the people liked it. Our most downloaded podcast in the past few weeks, And,
oh wow, okay.
So I was looking, I was like, oh, okay, all right.
WrestleMania post show, right?
Yeah, WrestleMania post show. And then we just dropped we dropped 2 shows since. Well, we had the Black Excellence in Wrestling, which is doing pretty well on YouTube. So if you haven't been on there, check that out. Promise you'll enjoy it. We really talk about the just paying homage to a lot of the people who paved the way in Black wrestling. But then my brother right here released his top 5 championships, and you can even see on our Facebook page, got people who enjoyed it, and it gave them an opportunity, which one of the things I loved about this show. It gave people an opportunity to talk about their favorite belts, right?
There you go.
So
the engagement.
Yeah, obviously you had a lot of winged eagles in there and a lot of big goals in there, but go on our Facebook page, you'll see people are they're engaging with that one. It's also on YouTube. We're almost at the 1,000 subscriber mark, so if you haven't done so, click the subscribe button right now. It's right on the screen if you're watching. If you're in the car, it's in the link. Pull over. Hit the subscribe. We trying to reach 1,000. We're at about 896 the last time I checked. So the Wrestling Realm now and the Wrestling Realm flagship show has bringing business back to the realm, baby. So pretty excited about this, man.
Speaking of belts, see that is I'm looking at your spinner belt in the back because I just watched Miz's WWE 24 today.
Okay, I haven't watched that yet.
Bro, excellent. Like, this is me telling you, it's excellent. And now I'm like, I gotta get to Brian H's crib because he's got that. Every time we do this, I'm looking at that spinner belt. That's the one I'm plotting on back there. I said that's the one I gotta get my hands on.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I'm trying to decide what's going to be next, and whether it be. I'm looking at between the U.S. title.
I was about to say, I think it's an easy choice. I think it's an easy choice for you to make.
But that Intercontinental title starting to grow on me.
I don't like the U.S. title as much as I like the IC title because it's so 3D in the front.
Yeah, okay. And I think everybody else feels the opposite. Most people, I should say. But I understand that. I know that I want something with side plates next, just because.
So what doesn't go with side plates besides the classic titles?
That's it. Yeah, that's the thing. It's going to be either the current IC title or the current US title. I haven't really figured out if I really want to get the NXT titles. Usually have a good price, but the thing is, it's like with their side plates are squares as opposed to circles. So you have to get, if you're getting custom side plates or the ones that they sell, you're getting an NXT character instead of I haven't got any superstars yet. I got NWO and WrestleMania. Next would be DX. I'm probably gonna get Kofi and Lashley and The Rock for obvious reasons, and Daniel Bryan. But I'm also looking at the WWE title, the current one. So those are things. Right now they're not on their.
Really, you still looking at the current title after you got that one in the back? The 2013.
Yeah, because it's that. It's our history. We got two black champions.
Well, you put it that way.
Yeah,
I think you have to get it now.
Yeah, the thing is, I couldn't pass that one up because it was $199 on the day of Money in the Bank, and the other one was $299. So it was either. But and when I looked at it, I said an opportunity to spend $199 for a WWE championship. Yeah, I think I'll get this one.
Yeah, especially right there in the moment. It's almost a no-brainer.
Yeah, so I'm kind of waiting for the next sale. The next sale, see what they have, because shout out to Mo Eaton. Mo told me one day, he said, get you a price, stick with it. He said you might go over it sometimes. It's easy to do now that they got Klarna, but I've seen some of the titles that that Money in the Bank was when they were at their lowest. So that's when I said, all right, cool. Now I know exactly the kind of price range I want to be at.
I mean, I remember you talking about it before, but I don't know if I was talking to you about it or whoever, but I remember they said that this year they announced that sales have gone way up. And I think that's probably due to WWE having complete access to the manufacturers that are going through Figures Inc. like they have been for the last couple of years, and also they got them on sale all the time. So
yeah,
probably more now than I've ever seen them. So that's always a positive.
Yeah, so that's one of the things. But how you feeling? I know it's been a couple weeks. You got a chance to recharge.
Has it been a couple weeks?
Yeah, I mean, we've been putting out content, so it doesn't feel like it. Like before, it was like, wow, they're gone away. Nah, I mean, there's still been, the show's been dropping, but it's been a couple weeks since we've done a wrestling round now.
It's been busy, but like I said, the biggest thing is that we're here. We're back. There's always stuff to dive into. There's always things to address. People want to hear what you have to say, and I'm always opinionated. So here we go.
Yep. So let's go into this week.
Did that have any sound effects on that video?
Yeah, you didn't hear it?
I didn't hear it. No, it's cool.
You'll hear the
I was just wondering. Okay, I was just wondering. I was like, does this have any sound effects? I can't hear it, but okay. Wait, play it again. That was cool. I'm gonna say it again. What was that again?
You still ain't hear it?
Nope. No, it's not your fault. I got to tap for sound because I'm out of studio right now, so I gotta.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Okay.
So it's okay. I'm not used to it. Yeah, but that's. What did I watch? What did I watch this week? I watched absolutely nothing. Didn't watch a thing. I kept up with everything.
But nothing.
I watched nothing. Is a very specific reason why I didn't watch anything. But of course, I know what's going on in the streets. I've always keep up with everything. So, that's right. Nothing. I was on strike for obvious reasons. You already know why. Every time after Mania, if I see a list that I don't like, I got to take a break. I say, you know what, y'all are making me mad. I got to take a break. Gather myself together because I'm grown. It don't make sense for me to be upset. So let me just take a step back.
Oh, we gonna definitely get into that.
Definitely. So what did you watch? Because clearly you watched something. You asked me what I watched. So what did you watch?
So one of the things I think I enjoyed the most, I watched some of the matches on Title Match Network, and shout out
real quick. I watched Austin's podcast with Jericho. There you go.
Okay, all right. So what you think about it now that you've seen it?
Excellent, man. They keep getting better and better. I mean, it's I could give my opinion about a lot of different things when it comes to Jericho being on Austin's podcast, but it was just excellent, man. It was Jericho's a legend. Austin's a legend, and I'm just leaving it at that. But
did you listen to it in reverse? Because Jericho Austin went on Jericho's podcast.
I did not listen to that one yet.
Okay, I didn't realize it. A lot of times before when I'm going to bed, I'll put headphones on, and I started listening to that. I was like, oh, this is cool. I mean, I think they've been on one of them been on each other's show before, so it's not like the first time it's happening. And at this point in time, we kind of know the stories, but it's just sometimes just a matter of who they're talking to, and it's more about their conversation as opposed to their journeys.
I'm glad to see Chris Jericho has that type of respect where Vince is not shunning superstars or his guys that he considers upper echelon guys of the company. Mm-hmm. He's not blackballing them because they don't work for him, which is the best part about what I enjoy seeing stuff like Jericho on Broken Skull Sessions. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? As they breaking the wall. But it also reiterates what I said in the beginning, was like, this is why AEW will never compete with a WWE, because you have to look at what it is. Jericho made it very clear we're not really competition. It's a different product. You're going to compete nationally because you're in the same, in the same echelon. But you got to understand something. The dynamics of the war between WCW and WWE was real.
Yeah.
Any competition between AEW and WWE is not real. When I say real, like, people, lives were on the line. Like, they were going to lose jobs. They were like, Bischoff was trying to put Vince under. Mm-hmm. Like, that's real. That was a war. Like, that's a war. That's not that us fans, it's a war because NXT goes head to head. That's just competition. That's fun, but it's not real. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, NXT is going to be fine. AEW is going to be fine. They're such a young company. They're up and coming. There's no such thing as competing at this point. It's just, however you decide to deliver what you consider competition to your fans, to sell tickets or bring more eyes to the product, that's part of the process. But to see him do that, I might see, that's why I said, Vince, as long as he's treating people like that way, who's going to want to go against him? Yep. Guys, look, I have no beef with Vince. I just want to get my respect. I got to show them that I'm still of value. And that's what Chris Jericho has done.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I watched.
Yeah, that was that was a good one. I think that came out WrestleMania weekend, right? I think that's when I watched it. Yeah,
I don't know if it was that Monday or that Sunday night or something. It might have been that Sunday. I don't remember. I remember it wasn't like it wasn't like a bomb or anything like that. I remember when it went up, everybody said, "Oh yeah, Jericho's on Austin's podcast on Broken Skull Sessions on the network," and it was available. So it was really good though. Like, it was thorough. I enjoyed it, and I love the transparency and the honesty on both ends,
mm-hmm.
and how Austin and Jericho both they know how to ask the right questions.
Yeah,
and it was just good. It was really, really good.
Yeah. This week, man, I watched the Roddy Piper biography, and
got to see that. I still got to see that. I still got to see Austin's. I didn't see neither one of those.
Yeah, the way A&E does these stories, I mean, it's phenomenal. If you're somebody who like always look forward to that kind of content on the WWE network, and maybe not everything has transitioned yet, this was just like a perfect storm. It's like you're coming right off of the heels of WrestleMania, mm-hmm. but WWE is finding a way to stay in that competition, right? I mean, stay in that conversation. Right. Most of the time in sports, when the World Series, the NBA Finals, the Super Bowl is over, that's it. You'll have like the posts, everybody do their we won the championship interviews and their media tour, but you stop talking about the league until free agency. Well, WWE has continued this conversation in which, could be considered a restart period or a dead period, where they're rehashing the conversation about old stars, and they have people coming back, on there telling these stories. So I'm watching, Piper, and I've known Roddy Piper to be like one of the best bad guys. And I'm texting my Uncle Troy, and I was like, yo, because I know he's always been like a huge Piper guy. And I was like, man, did you see this? I was like, you watch? He said, I got to watch it. He said, man, the greatest heel in my opinion, the greatest wrestling heel. And you see how nasty and the reason why Piper was the way he was. But then, you have his kids on there. They're talking about it. And they even go into how much like they hated Hogan in the days when he was in the NWO. You know, Piper just had hip surgery, and Hogan's taking chair shots right to that hip where you see the scar. You know?
I remember. Yep.
And it was, you know, to hear that from his kids, like, oh wow, you know. And of course, you know, Hulk Hogan, which a lot of people, when Hogan talk, it's like, okay, what's real, what's not. You know, he said, you know, that, you know, like he said before, him and Piper had that conversation, like, Roddy, we could have made a lot of money if you would have just done a couple of jobs. You know, we could have went back and forth. So that was really good to see. I definitely encourage people to check it out. But next year, oh yeah, dig it, it's gonna be good. They're going to Macho Man.
You said next year? You talking about next week?
I said next year.
Yeah, dang.
next week, this Sunday, Macho Man. So
yeah, A&E has always done that well. They've always done those type biography type element, and it's always a different element to how they tell the story, and the story they choose to tell based off what we enjoy. So yeah.
Now, have you watched? You haven't watched the Treasure Show either?
No, I have not.
Yeah, that's really good.
Okay.
Especially like people like us who, you know, love wrestling, love, you know, just seeing, you know, like the collectibles and stuff. Shout out to former Maryland State Terrapin AJ Francis, who's, you know, in the training system, but he's going with the superstars, and they're on like this hunt to find some of the most coveted items. So like they did Undertaker and Kane yesterday, and they were looking for the original Kane mask. Then you got this guy
This is on A&E?
Yeah, this comes on right after whatever biography they show. The Treasure Show comes on right afterwards, and they showing that they got
nice
this.
Lead-in.
Yeah, you know, and it's like it's 3 hours of wrestling because you get the 2 hours of the doc plus the hour of this, and you know, look at, and you got these guys who work at the warehouse, and they're looking. They're like, nah, that's not the right Kane mask. It's because it's got this stitching and all this, you know, the artifacts guys. And what makes it so cool because, you know, they send AJ to go talk to Kane, and then he goes to Undertaker, but then they was looking for the betrayal urn. You know, they got all the urns except the betrayal urn, and guess where it was? It was at a funeral museum.
Wow.
You may remember Corey, we used to work with at Best Buy. You know, he's I don't know if you know, but now
he was definitely getting the mortuary sciences.
Yeah. So I asked him, I said, have you ever been to that place? And he was like, no, not, you know, he wants to go. But it's like the museum of, you know, the funeral history museum. And Paul Bearer had gave the urn to the guy who works there as a gift. Wow. So, you know, they go there and they offering the guy money, and they offer a couple of exchanges, like, hey, we can give you this. So that's really cool to see. Like, you know, the first episode with Mick Foley, somebody had to find the original, it was like the Cactus Jack outfit, the flannel, all that other stuff. So that's what's really cool about a lot of this stuff.
Well, I gotta catch up on that. Sounds like my kind of show. I had no idea about it.
Yeah, man, it comes on right after. You know, I set the DVR every week because I'm like, man, I gotta check this out.
Right.
Yeah. So I got time travel for you real quick. Time travel. Last week, man, I went back and watched a match that I'd never seen before. And people may say,
you watched a match you've never seen before?
I'm gonna say 3 letters, WCW.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense because you weren't the biggest WCW guy.
Remember, I had that period where I didn't know where wrestling was, quote unquote, because we didn't have cable. So for 8 months, I wasn't watching nothing new. I would only hear about it through chatter because it hadn't really went into where everybody was a fan yet. That would come the next year, be going into 7th grade. So my 6th grade year, it was like I was only watching old stuff. So I was watching Slamboree 98, Macho Man versus Bret Hart. And man, watching that, I was like, this reminds me why Dwayne didn't like Bret Hart in WCW. Like that whole match.
It wasn't the same, man.
Yeah, because even when Bret Hart was a heel, and shout out to one of my young boys at church, he said him and his mom been going back watching, and Devin is 16.
Okay.
And him and his mom, and him and his mom been going back watching stuff. You know, he said we've been watching stuff on Peacock, and his mom was like, man, Bret Hart needs to stop whining, you know, talking about like that 97 era. But even then, it still didn't feel like he still felt main event-ish. In WCW, when I look at this stuff, man, he looks so mid-card to me. And I'm like,
Mid-card weasel.
Yeah, and by the time I started watching WCW, it was about around the same time because it was like I discovered Shotgun Saturday Night. Then the next week I found Worldwide, and I was like, oh, okay, Bret Hart's over there. Oh wait, he's with the NWO, but he still never felt like in WWE. He always felt like larger than life, because he felt like he was always on the top of the card, like Shawn Michaels. They always felt no matter whether they was champion or not, they were the guys. He didn't feel like that in WCW to me.
No, and that was my whole argument. That was my whole fuss about his run in WCW when we always had these conversations. That it just, it's like I appreciated it for what it was. Like we're lucky to have anything Bret Hart related, which is fine. But that superhero aspect was missing, where he was, like I said, just that top guy feel. And I had a hard time getting behind. Like I was loyal to him, but that was it at that point. It was like, I'm loyal to you. Sure, you Bret Hart, so you're gonna put on excellent matches, but it's just like, man, you coming out here whining every week when you could have been the face of WCW and the whole Wolfpack thing. He could have teamed up with DDP. He could, we give it a book and all kinds of stuff. We'd had this conversation 1,000 times. So,
yeah, it makes you wonder though, what would have happened if HBK would have went over there?
I think the same thing would have happened to him. To be honest with you, I think they would have did the same thing to him. Because think about it. In the heyday of what WCW was, what could he have done besides either fitting with the NWO, like Bret Hart did? He wasn't taking over anything, and Shawn Michaels was too arrogant to be anybody's sidekick.
Yeah,
like he was not going to jump in and disrupt any of those storylines, or Hogan was not driving the title on him because they're gonna like, dude, this guy was jerking the curtains when I was having my run, and now you want me to make him seem like it's a big deal. So I Vince had a way of creating characters and bringing value to those characters. WCW had a way of isolating wrestlers based off stigmas. Kind of like, to me, what WWE is doing now to Lucha Libre guys or smaller talent is instead of creating something that they can build based off of character and it causes you to ignore the size. They just keep stereotyping everybody across them, which is what Andrade and guys like Kalisto and a lot of guys have been complaining about, even Phantasma and NXT. Like, yeah, I relinquished the NXT championship because now it's time to move on. But it's like, stop. Oh, he's short. He wears a mask. Make him cruiserweight. And then when you don't involve those type of guys or that type of wrestling into your main event storylines because of that style of wrestling, don't have them be cruiserweights. You know what I mean?
Right.
But Daniel Bryan had to do it. He's a smaller guy. Shawn Michaels had to do it. Bret Hart had to do it. They all had to do it in some way, shape, or form. But man, I don't know. Like I said, at some point, somebody's got to want to grab the brass ring and do something about it instead of whining about it or, whatever the case may be. So,
yeah, man. Let's take a quick break. I want to like I said, we got the we got the championship episode, Dwayne's championships. But here's a quick story of what happened at our graduation. We'll be back after this. Over these 10 years, one thing that we always had conversations about is championship belts.
Yes, no doubt. Yes,
when you talk about the design, the look, the way it makes you feel, spoiler alert, for our college graduation from the Great Morgan State University, we walked around with the belts around our waist as we crossed the stage.
Show the picture. All right.
Remember that?
Oh yeah, that was.
So let me ask you this before we get into that conversation, because I remember the night before, it was like our WrestleMania, right?
Yeah.
We stood outside like, yo, we finally did it. We finally proved that a wrestling show was real.
Yes, yeah.
That we are huge wrestling fans, and you was like, yeah, brother, because you walked around school with wrestling T-shirts for a whole semester.
He really wore every day, like that or button up, or his Best Buy shirt because he was going to work.
No, but see, I quit the second semester, so it was no more Best Buy.
Okay, it was no more Best Buy, but it was that old button up. I promise you, all wrestling tees.
Yeah, wrestling tees. But one of the things we said was, let's rock a belt to graduation.
I mean, what better way to go out?
Yeah, I still can't believe.
You know what makes that clip work? I'm going to cut you off. We got proof. We got the picture.
Shout out to you, man. I appreciate you digging up in the archives of that one.
Yeah, I remember we were doing something before, and I kept looking for it. Remember, we couldn't find it. I think it was a Throwback Thursday or something. I wanted to post it, and we couldn't find it. And
right.
I literally was I found it on my computer in my photos, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to need this at some point for something, and I just saved it to Google Photos. Like, there it is, and best believe, boom.
I might throw that up for Title Tuesday.
I don't remember the young lady who took the picture of us. I don't remember who she was. Like we knew of her, but we didn't know her personally.
Right.
Because she took a picture, and we was like, "Can you send it to us real quick?" She's like, "Absolutely," and she texted right to us.
Yeah, I don't remember, but shout out to her. If she's watching, let us know so we can give you credit, proper credit, because we definitely appreciate it. You documented a very important part of these 10 years. So, but yeah, man, we walked across the stage with belts on our waists. It would have been funny if we would have had it like on our shoulders, but then I can see we probably would have really drew some heat. But then
we were so afraid that we weren't going to get our diplomas. We were like, yo, should we snatch them off on stage and pose in front of everybody? Just loud pop. But I was like, yo, if we do that, they might like, those guys are not getting their diplomas. We're like,
and we ain't get them that day. Well, I don't know. I didn't get mine that day. I came back.
No, sir. I wouldn't. Did I go get mine?
Yeah, because I was like, man, that line, I was ready to go home.
I don't think I wouldn't got mine that day.
And then you remember, it was supposed to rain. It rained briefly. And then, it stopped by time for the graduation cookouts. Thank God.
Yeah, it definitely cleared up. Like, by the time we got done, it definitely cleared up. But yeah, we were like, let's not rock the boat too much. But but when they made the announcement that they called our school, we definitely snatched them bad boys off. straight people's chant the things, swung them in the air.
Yep. Man, oh man, if we would have played, we'd have had somebody just to get that moment. Like, hey, look, we're going to do this. We need you to get this moment right here.
What kind of phones did we have? I think because I'm like, why didn't we record that? It's like, hey, hold the phone.
So I was still with an iPhone 4S.
I probably was too, and I probably had no. I was because I had no space for my phone.
Okay, yeah, I was with the iPhone 4S because I didn't go to the 5S until I got to Connecticut. And it was like right before Christmas.
I had the iPhone 4, 8 gig, no space. So nothing.
Yeah, man. It'll come a long way.
That's the show where the microphone wasn't on.
Which one? That one?
That one, because you could hear all the ambient sound. Like,
okay.
I'm like, I don't, because I watched another one we did, and I was like, wait a minute, why does this sound different? Oh, yeah, one of these we didn't hit record on one of those buttons.
Oh, well, yeah, something. It must have. I don't know. Because it was a different audio file, but I think what happened might have went to both channels or something crazy.
It's always something.
Yeah, but hey, we
came together. We got a great show. It was fun. We got to do some more.
Yeah. So I got notes. I got notes for some upcoming shows. Yeah, I've been it's been some irritating days at work, so sometimes I got to step away.
Those are the most motivating moments for us. When you're irritated on the job, yes, Brian just comes up with his best content. So as much as I feel bad, I'm like, well, shoot, I'm sure you came up with something pretty good, huh?
Hey man, maybe that's why my former manager had to move. Unfortunately, I had ideas when she was there, but they was just a little far and few in between. See, those at that time the ideas used to come when we was traveling. But see, now we ain't traveling, and then I get irritated, so just they come so much quicker.
Sure, I can understand that.
Yeah, but it's time for some bones to pick.
Oh boy!
All right, so I got a bone to pick with the worldwide wrestling interweb, man, and
oh boy, are we talking the IWC?
The IWC.
Oh boy!
You would think that after Sunday night's transmission, in which AEW and Impact Wrestling,
yes, I knew we were coming to this.
Had a match.
Yep.
You would have thought that after this happened, nobody knew what was going to happen. I've seen so many AEW is canceled, Impact Wrestling is canceled posts. This is stupid. Really? How could they do such a thing? Now,
oh boy,
I can understand. But it's another thing when you know what's going to happen.
Okay.
Going into I've heard, like, I was listening to some pre-shows, right? Shout out to my boy Terrence. And he said anybody with a brain will not bet on Rich Swann to win this match.
Yeah, we talked about. Did we talk about this the first Wrestling Wrealm Now show?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not betting on him, and that was kind of like my issue. Is like, well, it's not believable, but okay, I got that part out of the way. Now I'll move forward. I'll see what happens. Would it have been a cool swerve? Absolutely. But it wouldn't have been believable because even when I watched the match, somebody uploaded to YouTube. Good match, probably the best Rich Swann match I've seen since, that I've seen since in a long time. But it was still like every time I'm just watching, I was like, this still isn't enough. Like, you're not going to convince me.
You were not invested in that whole idea that this guy could really potentially win this match against Kenny Omega right now at this current run that he's having.
Exactly.
I know the feeling.
I almost want to say.
See, I had to turn to the side. I gotta get comfortable for this conversation. So I just let me go ahead and.
I almost want to say that I would have believed Jey Uso would have beat Roman Reigns. Almost more than Swann beating Omega.
I probably would have believed that Moose had a better shot.
Absolutely.
Simply because he's a powerhouse. Like just his size and look alone, like, oh shoot, is this really going to be Moose's chance to really turn that corner? And even though I wouldn't have believed that either.
And I was trying to take my wrestling programming bias off, right?
Well, good for you. That's a different change of pace.
Yeah, I was trying to do that. Even though, like I said, I was like, all right, by the time I saw the match, I knew the results, right? But I was like, all right, let me watch this match to see if this looks believable. Let me take off the fact that I don't feel this smaller guy who's essentially a cruiserweight is going to beat this normal size guy who's a wrestling champion on multiple platforms and has been a former IWGP champion who's had one of the greatest matches I've ever seen in my life, right? Okay. So I tried to take all of that off and just say, all right, let me just watch it as if somebody who's never seen these guys wrestle before. And I still couldn't believe it. But I'm looking at it, and my bone to pick with the internet is, why are y'all so mad? We knew what was going to happen.
The Ram tried to tell you, baby. We try to. They don't listen. They don't listen. See, people don't listen. What were they upset about? Because first of all, I appreciate what Impact is doing. Impact got my attention after last year's cuts, and they brought in everybody. To me, that was a huge move because I didn't want to see everybody go to AEW because I knew AEW was going to try to go to war with WWE instead of trying to focus on let's building our own version of professional wrestling. And that's supposed to be the foundation of that company. And it's not that they don't do that, but Tony Khan to me gets caught up in the I'm trying to build excitement for my brand. I know we go to war with Uncle Raj about this a lot. But the crazy part about that argument is we've come to a stalemate because we both agree that it's Tony Khan. And so to see all those guys go to Impact is the ECW of the trifecta now. It's the island of misfit toys as Matt Cardona and Brian Myers have often alluded to it because it's such a different mix of different type of guys in the locker room. And even with recent releases now, I think a lot of people are expecting a lot of people to go to Impact because apparently they have a little bit of money and they have a little bit of room and they're for a lot of people to have opportunities to be showcased. And that's always a positive when you can be showcased in any way, shape, or form. And that's what happened with Rich Swann when he got released or whatever, how he got, he ran into a situation. And this guy was their world champion. Could have cared less. Never been a Rich Swann guy. But if that's the best you have to offer in regards to that particular storyline, I'm like, bro, what did you think was going to happen? Kenny Omega's at the top of his game. The idea of what they're doing to me is unique. And quite honestly, I wasn't upset about it. I actually understand it. You don't have to like it, but there's a partnership. And not since the early NWA do you have one guy representing multiple championships. He's a top guy in both companies now. And to be honest with you, Impact kind of needs him to be the top guy because what would be as invested in Impact right now if Kenny Omega was not going back and forth from AEW Impact every week, dealing with the Good Brothers and the old Bullet Club stuff, and then some storylines translate and some don't. Like some stuff stays on Impact, it doesn't go to AEW. Like the matchups between Finn Juice, New Japan guys, and the Good Brothers that don't trickle over to AEW stuff, but then the stuff with Kenny Omega's AEW title run, and then the involvement with the original Bullet Club, which they pretty much don't even allude to anymore because it kind of ran flat. Yeah, it's kind of things like you don't need to say that you guys the Bullet Club. You don't need to too sweet it up every 2 minutes because we kind of know who you are. Scott Hall, Razor Ramon. You don't got to come over and say I'm Razor Ramon because like we already know who you are. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah, you don't got to come with the gimmick. You already established. So, man, is he still the AAA champion, the Mega champion?
Yeah, he had all belts. He had 4 belts because he had the TNA and the Impact title there. So, and I think a lot of people are upset because you're not seeing AEW. You're not seeing Impact guys come over to AEW, right? You're not seeing Rich Swann's never showed up on Impact. On AEW, which I can understand why people getting upset. And like I said, maybe the word partnership was the wrong word, maybe
because you are a fair believer that AEW is benefiting more from the partnership than Impact. Am I correct on making that assumption? Based on the conversation we had.
Well, no, because after the conversation, it made sense to me.
Okay.
And that's but I think that's what everybody else feels that way. They only see it as AEW benefit, and they saying, I believe Tony Khan went on Busted Open, explained why he's like, why would I push their show on my program, and this, that, and the other,
what?
Yeah, because they asked him like, how come you aren't seeing promotions for Rebellion on AEW programming? You're not seeing the commercials. You're not seeing them really. You hear them kind of talk about, Kenny Omega's going to walk away with more titles, but you're not really hearing a heavy emphasis. You're not seeing Rich Swann show up on AEW.
Because in his mind, he thinks he's doing Impact a favor.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
And that's always been my issue with Tony Khan is, to me, he always comes off as like you just said earlier about the whole Jericho thing. You got Jericho understanding, okay, WWE isn't my competition. It's a place where I'm an alum from that I can always go back and I can go in the locker room. What to say? I'm good on every WWE locker room, right? But then you got Tony Khan was like, nah, they the competition. This, that, and it's like, dude, chill out. We ain't here for all that,
They killed, like I said, Chris Jericho, Christian, and Big Show killed every momentum they had. And Chris Jericho can cut a mean promo. And he when he's in character on Twitter and stuff, he said, "Oh yeah, we the best wrestler. We kicked their tail." But I'm like, bro, you just went on Austin's podcast and you just said we're not competition. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, it's the truth. But us fans want to make it a war, and it's not a war. Like I said, it was a war in the 90s because somebody was trying to put somebody out of business. And here's my issue with wrestling fans. As a matter of fact, I got a bone to pick too. Roll the thing again. Roll the bone to pick it. I got a bone to pick. Okay.
We got toys.
I do got a bone to pick.
Okay.
I do have a bone to pick. You ever notice everybody always wants to make Vincent Kennedy McMahon, this evil genius bad guy, right? In the world of professional wrestling.
Uh-huh.
Have you noticed outside of what he originally did when he took the regional territories and he gobbled them up and turned them into national programming? Outside of that, he has never tried to shut down a wrestling promotion ever. Mm-hmm. How many times have all these other wrestling promotions tried to go at Vince McMahon over and over again? WCW, ECW, and everybody else in between, and now most Dixie Carter and TNA, and now AEW, Tony Khan. Everybody has gone for WWE's throat in some way, shape, or form, and Vince has never. They say Vince don't care about professional wrestling outside of WWE. One, that's because he's a businessman. Two, that's not the case because he has never gone out of his way to shut anybody down. He gave ECW a $500,000 loan to try to stay afloat. When that wasn't his responsibility. And then when it didn't work out, of course he's going to snatch at the talent because he's a businessman. Right? And when did he become this evil mastermind because all of a sudden things don't work out for us creatively? There's a lot of things that he did we didn't like over years. Of course. That's the burden of one man running a company, but he's been doing it it's been in place for 65, 70 years. Since when did wrestling fans decide that Vince McMahon was this evil monster that has been the enemy of professional wrestling when he has done nothing but put money into professional wrestling? Mm-hmm. He gave Triple H the reins to do NXT. He gave Triple H the ability to make partnerships with these smaller independent promotions. Right? All these indie superstars that had no place to go because they hit their ceiling financially in the places they were at, he gave them jobs and opportunities until unfortunately they hit with a pandemic.
Yep.
And unfortunately, people got cut. But he signed those people at the same time, though. Since when did he become the bad guy? When everybody's going at him. And you can't say, well, he did it first. No, he created professional wrestling as we know it, because there will be no national wrestling promotion if he didn't do what he did some 40, 50 years ago, however long. Who knows? I'm terrible at math. Who knows how long it was?
He also, when he went and bought those territories, he gave other people jobs and put more money in their pockets than they ever had before. Now, they may not have been as big of stars, or, they came down to earth, you know what I mean? But like the Rougeaus, I didn't know, like when I got older and I learned, I was like, wait, all these people from the 80s, they actually had territories, and now all of a sudden, like because by the time I learned about it, they was in the WWF umbrella, going to Stampede. He took the Hearts and the Bulldogs. Bret Hart became a bigger star. Who would have? I remember he even said in his book, when they went to go see Dynamite one time, him and Anvil, I think, or maybe him and somebody, and it was like, look, man, he got the big belt. These guys became bigger stars than they ever would have been. So even though that was considered like breaking the fourth wall, going through the forbidden door, he still benefited because he didn't just like put. A lot of those promoters had jobs.
At the end of the day, I don't. It's a long overdue conversation, and everybody's going to have their views and feels about it for personal reasons. You know what I mean? But I get sick of wrestling fans in particular turning McMahon into the villain. When I'm like, man, he's the one defending his territory. He's the one that locked people up. He locked people up in 90-day no compete clauses because of what happened to him. Like for the longest time, he wasn't doing all that legal stuff. He was signing handshake agreements with guys, right? Until that stuff got violated and he had to go a different route because he's a businessman. That man is a billionaire for a reason. You know what I mean? And then you get to the reasons like myself and older guys get mad when guys get cut. Sure, I get mad about that stuff all the time, but at the end of the day, he's doing the one thing that no promotion ever wants to do, and that's take the risk of saying, let's escort our well-known people out the door so we can start building new stars. There's nothing but new talent on TV now. All the way across the board, who's highlighting everything? It's new talent. He's moving forward, and there's nothing wrong with having companies that want to give the 40 and 50-year-olds a second run because they still got some juice left in the tank. Nothing wrong with that at all. You need a place like that. But ultimately, if you don't create new superstars based off the old superstars, you lose your business. Not just wrestling, you lose your business because we have yet to see a legitimate national company go toe-to-toe with WWE or even produce and develop new talent, generations of new talent that we haven't seen in recent day. And we've only seen it in one company, and that's the WWE. Outside of what these global superstars do on their own and, the stops that they make before they get to what we consider the big dance or the national stage.
Yeah.
So long story short, full circle, what the heck did people think was going to happen when freaking Kenny Omega beat? They thought Rich Swann had a shot? It's something different that we have not seen in a long time, right? And that's the one thing you have to ask for. Like, what else can you ask for at the moment to say, okay, cool, you have one guy that's defending this title. He's a top guy in two different companies. That's something we haven't seen before. Right. Kenny Omega has to do something to be as unique and individual as possible because he's coming up in an age where professional wrestling is really just not that special because there's not too much that we have not seen anymore. So you have to do something to kind of say, okay, this is how I submit myself. This is how I submit a legacy. Chris Jericho, he's doing something we have not seen before. I don't know too many 50-year-olds that have had that run like him where he's been on almost every important promotion financially that has mattered, not TNA, of course, but, every national promotion. And he has done something that most people have not. He's had such a unique run. And I'm like, man, he's setting a blueprint now, but he was the first one to do it. And now it's like, can you really blame him for him? Whatever Jericho touches, it turns to gold. Everything I enjoyed in AEW when I got sucked into the programming had something to do with him. But in a minute, he kind of got pushed to the back of the field. My interest began. Nothing has held my interest to make me say, "Oh, I got to see this next week." Even Christian, I don't even want to see Christian. I'm over it. And Christian is my guy. Like
I know.
And people say, "Oh, why is Christian?" I'm like, let's get this situated first and foremost. Christian Cage's running TNA wasn't all that great. Let's keep it 100. Initially, it was different. It was amazing. It was a main event level stuff. But everything he did in TNA wasn't great. He went right back to being a weasel. He had his spot, but everything he did was not spectacular. Mm-hmm. That's why when his time was up, he left and went back, said, I got to do something different. And then when he got back to WWE, they didn't treat him. They go out of their way to make sure that anybody that made a name for themselves in TNA will not become an immediate star in WWE, because they don't want them thinking that you can go to TNA, become a bigger star, and then you'll come and get that treatment, because they're going to, you can tell. It happened with Kurt Angle, it happened with Christian, it happened with Mickie James. And Drew's the exception.
Oh, yeah, he was in NXT.
Drew is the exception, and so is Bobby Lashley. But a lot of those people that left WWE directly for TNA, they did not come back to have big time runs. Like Kurt Angle was talking about in an interview, and I'm going on my spiel now because here I go, I'm all fired up. He talked about in the interview how he wanted to come back to WWE originally to have like a Goldberg like run.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
Where he's special, wrestle maybe once or twice, but it's a big deal when he wrestles. And you say, okay, cool, that probably could have worked out, but ultimately Vince was against it. He said, no, we're not doing nothing that serious. We want to come and celebrate you, have some fun. We'll find a way to get you in there, and then we let you walk off into the sunset the right way. And Kurt Angle wanted something different. He wanted to come back and have a title, like a Universal Championship run like Goldberg had, and had those big matches, those one more time, that last run. Now you say to yourself, well, why wouldn't that have worked? Well, because it's different when it comes to. I thought about it because I say, well, wait a minute, wouldn't that make sense? Yeah, sure, a little bit. I think us fans would have been ecstatic about it, but when it comes to the product in the actual ring, people would have been disappointed. Let me tell you why. Because Kurt Angle can't do half the stuff now at this age that he did when he was younger, because the expectations are already high. Goldberg did the same thing for 20-something years: spear, punch, kick, jackhammer, game match. Oh. You know what I mean? You don't have to do much. Brock Lesnar the same way, Hogan the same way. The expectations were high for what they did. They can do the same thing. They've been doing the ring for almost 20 years because they didn't do much anyway. They just know how to work around it. Mm-hmm. Let an old Kurt Angle come out there and look like himself. They're going to say, oh, Kurt Angle's washed up because he's not doing half the stuff that we enjoyed watching him do in the first place. So you look at him differently. So you got to almost help these superstars protect their own brands because they want to wrestle so bad. Like, bro, you got to protect your brand because you ain't fit to go out there and look like yourself. You're going to downplay yourself, and you're not going to look as good, and you're going to look like, yeah, you should have stayed in retirement. And then like Christian right now, I feel the exact same way about it. I'm like, bro, I don't want to see you have another run in AEW with another company. This was supposed to be your last. You're supposed to get back on your WWE track, have a nostalgia run, match up with some of these new guys, and let's celebrate your career on the way out on the biggest stage. But now he's like, he's back. He's 45, 46, 47 years old, and you back on, I got to prove myself, outwork everybody. I'm like, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling you going up against young guys trying to make, I don't care about none of them dudes. And you working with them is not making me care about them at this point. I'm completely over it. I just looked at it. I was like, bro, I'm not feeling
it. Did Kurt stay too long?
In TNA, absolutely. But Kurt had problems though.
Right.
And I didn't know that until after he came back. Because everybody kept saying, like, dude, what are you sticking around to? Like, you can't love it that much. They treated him like a king, let him do whatever he wanted to do. But the reality is, as much as he was a soldier for TNA, as much as he's a Hall of Famer for TNA, that was just a holding place till he got himself together, because he could work part-time. They weren't going to press the issue, and they paid him a buttload of money. Yeah. So TNA was never really in contention. We didn't know that until after the fact. But you know what I mean? And then at that point, Vince was like, yeah, I don't want to put that kind of pressure on you, because there's a trust thing now. Not that he didn't trust him, but you can understand, like, look, I know you're going to do whatever you have to do to put on this performance, and I don't want to put that kind of pressure on you at this point in your life, now that things are going well for you. I don't want to put you in a WrestleMania match against the Fiend for the Universal Championship, because I don't know what you're going to put your body through just to be ready for that moment, because you want to have one last run. Right. And to me, that's the thinking of a father. That's the thinking of a businessman. So let's just do its best, even though it sounds nice, it looks good, but why take that risk? And I think that's the difference between Vince McMahon and a lot of other promoters. And I think he catches flack for that, because that's the side of him that we don't really see as much when it comes to decision making, because we're fans. We only watch it just like this from our screens, which I think we're probably going to get a highlight of it in the new Netflix Last Dance style documentary that you're going to get on Vince McMahon, where they're going to you're going to see most young people didn't know anything about Michael Jordan until they watched The Last Dance, and they said, "Okay, I kind of get it now."
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of people are going to feel the same way once they get that opportunity to see Vince McMahon in a different light.
You've been working on it. It sounds like you've been working on it. Sound like you work behind the scenes because you just unveiled something that I'm pretty sure 95% of our audience never thought about as far as Vince McMahon is concerned.
That's what we do, though. The thing is, we always want to. We can always sit here and grunt and grab about what the heck we like and don't like. That's easy. But it takes a different type of mind to say, okay, let me take a step out of myself for just a moment and let me look at it from a different perspective that may be true, may not be true, but it's just a theory. You know what I mean? It's just something to say, maybe this is what it is. But I'm like, you know what? When you look at it that way, whether I like it or not, it makes sense. You know what I mean? And when you start putting the pieces together, like, yeah, maybe this isn't the best thing for you. Like, and to me, that was always the thing I've always noticed about McMahon. When he's got these older guys, they have this one more. It was only one guy he just couldn't let go of. That was the Undertaker. But even a Sting, I'm rolling right now. Sting left because he wanted to have a cinematic match with Undertaker. He wanted that moment, but they had already planned out Taker's sunset. Yeah. Sunset. Undertaker did a whole WWE 24 about how he feels like he's either staying too long, or every time he has a moment that's going well, he doesn't leave out on top, or he does too much. Like it was a whole back and forth about that whole documentary we watched with Undertaker. And he said, you know what? I finally feel comfortable at this space with AJ, where this was good enough. It was monumental enough during a difficult time. I could end my career on this high note. What if Sting and Taker doesn't work out the same way? What if things don't go the same way? Which I think they could have easily pulled off. But then, you know, this was also Taker's anniversary. They wanted to make sure by Survivor Series he was getting his flowers so they could send him out the right way, almost 30 years into it. But you can wait a whole nother year so you could do it. And that's just.
And then the pandemic, you can't have that moment without fans. You know, you got to have that, the lights go out, all the type of somatic effects that they would have had.
And then you did it already. Like you spent a whole year celebrating The Undertaker, right? And then all of a sudden, then it's like, okay, this is his last hurrah. We're going to celebrate him. Send them off, and then all of a sudden you want to come back. Oh, well, Sting wants to have a cinematic match. To me, it was like I blame Sting because he stayed in TNA for too long. You know what I mean? Like when he had his chance to go, he didn't take it. And like I said, do I think they could have pulled it off? Absolutely. But at the same time, though, I can also say I can understand why Vince wouldn't want to take that risk. It might not get better than AJ versus Taker for a cinematic match. He might not want to do that anymore. He might say, "Look, man, we pulled it off." Triple H said, "Look, man, I don't know what was going on. We figured it out. We pulled it off, and it was probably it was a monumental moment in professional wrestling history, based off a situation that was out of everybody's control. You might not catch lightning in the bottle again. Leave it alone."
Exactly.
And what did he do? He decides, I'm leaving. I don't like how I left. I don't like how my career ended. I want to end it on my note, which he has every right to do so because he's Sting, and I think he's doing an excellent job in AEW. I'm just not interested.
Come on, man. You don't like him and Darby Allin?
I'm not getting enough of Sting. Like Sting, I'm glad what he's doing is great. He's working with these younger guys, but it's like Sting has to make up for what they're not doing behind stage. Sting's got to come out and cut a promo with Lance Hoyt out there, Lance Archer, and tell him, "Oh, you got all the right stuff. You just got to stay on it. You're not doing right." He's sitting there next to Jake the Snake Roberts. That's your manager. He's the old head. He's supposed to be the one to guide you, and you got to have Sting tell him that, and then tell you that it doesn't make sense. It don't look good on television. See, look, my light just went out. That's how bad it was.
It's funny you say that because I was thinking when I was watching last week's main event, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, Sting is just out there. He's just out there. Like to me, that just doesn't look right. You know what I mean? Right. It's like the Undertaker, and they got a new guy, and he's just out there, and he's just hanging out. Like that didn't make any sense to me at all. And I can understand exactly where you're coming from. You know, a couple more things before we get out of here, man. you brought up Mickie James,
right?
And Mark Carrano gone from the WWE as he was revealed responsible for Mickie James clothing. And I know a lot of people was upset about that. Mickie James tweeted it. Obviously she added Vince McMahon. My first thought was Vince McMahon probably don't check his Twitter. He probably has somebody scheduling it for him or he's writing things down. But it's unfortunate.
Somebody saw it.
Yeah, clearly. And Stephanie and Triple H, addressed it, and even John Laurinaitis. It's just unfortunate you see that type of stuff happen. But that's I'm glad they fixed it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was glad they fixed it because it just felt like it was okay. Here's another reason to blame WWE for something. WWE is evil. It felt like it was going to be another one of those weeks.
No, but did you know what though? My initial response was I think it felt like he did it on purpose. I don't know if he had anything to do with it or if he was in charge of whoever was responsible. Usually whoever's in leadership, they catch the axe first, right? So I was like, okay, I was like, did he do this on purpose because he just got demoted? Because they just put Laurinaitis back in charge of talent relations. I thought he was already gone from the company, but apparently he was doing something else.
Yeah.
But he has worked with talent relations for a while. I think once Johnny Ace kind of fell back and whatever the case may be. But Carrano's, he's not I watch Total Diva, so he's not a name that anybody really likes.
Yeah, it felt like he started feeling himself after that. Like he kind of got that, oh man, I'm getting more TV time than I've ever gotten before. My name's out there, and it felt like
about him stealing belts and stuff. Like he's got belts from, like show belts from like who does that? Goes in a prop cart and starts stealing titles and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, they could be all rumors. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But I was just like, yo, what in the world? Are you serious? But that she was, I'm glad they apologized to her.
Mm-hmm.
And they were she has been controversial lately because she's getting up in age and they're going younger. So this is where you feel two sides of the same scale. Because she said, I appreciate somebody reaching out to me and showing me that kind of, respect in regards to acknowledging what had happened to me. But at the same time, to me, it feels like that's how I felt. I've been treated for the last 3 years.
Yep.
And I can't disagree with her because she is a legend, but she wasn't treated as a legend. Because to me, she got caught up in that TNA whirlwind where like she left and she was a big deal in that, but she solidified her legacy in TNA because that's when TNA was allowing the women to do wrestling stuff. That's where the women's revolution started. If you want to keep it 100, like there was no Divas Revolution. TNA were giving their women time to do all kinds of stuff, and she was a part of that mix. And it just seemed like when she came back, instead of she was on the Mae Young Classic, correct me if I'm wrong, and then they signed her, and she showed up. Did she have
a special match with Takeover too?
She had a match with Takeover against was it Asuka?
It might have been
somebody, either Asuka or Io Shirai. I don't remember.
It would have been Asuka.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I feel like it would have been Asuka because I feel like the title was on the line.
Her and Shinsuke. Shinsuke, was that the same one with Shinsuke Sammy?
That was that Mania 32 weekend Takeover Dallas. But I think Mickey. I thought Mickey came at like one of the New York takeovers.
I don't remember. I can't keep up. But she should have been treated like the same way, guys like the Goldbergs and the Brock Lesnar should have been treated. But at the same time, like I said, she got injured and then she came back. And it's just like, if I was her, I probably would have signed a part-time deal to make sure my appearances was still special when I pop up. But by her being every day, she would just be a utility girl. But they were pushing all the young girls anyway. So it's like, so you kind of want to respect Mickie James and her Hall of Fame career and what she did. But at the same time, though, the girls already got limited time as it is. You know what I mean? Where do you fit into all that mix? And it's like when you got Alexa Bliss coming up. Think about this. Think about women's wrestling in the last 3 years. All the stuff that happened. Where did she really fit in? Not that she couldn't have fit in, or they could have found a way to make her fit in respectfully. But at the same time, though, especially with a pandemic hit, it's like, okay, well, she's getting older and she looks amazing, but they're still like, no, we're gonna. They have so much. Her that way. No, they still got so much. But when you look at all the young talent they have, it's like, well, you can see why they're trying to push all the young girls instead of trying to. They're not in the season of let's celebrate the legends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're trying to push all them NXT girls, all the Oscars, the Sasha Banks, the Bianca Belairs, the Io Shirai's, just everybody, just even down to the Liv Morgans and the Mandy Roses, and it's just it's so much, it's so many with so little time, and even Charlotte just jumped back into the mix. That's more TV time. Where do you fit into all that stuff? And there's no doubt in my mind that she would have had space if they were back on the road full time and they could do main event and all that kind of stuff. But not to say that I think she should have been cut. I'm never going to say cut Mickie James for anything, because that's the kind of veteran presence you want around your locker room anyway. But they can afford veteran presence because this is a veteran presence season financially for them.
Right.
They'd rather sign a young talent for cheaper than pay a vet to kind of just be there. It ain't too many R-Truths out there. You know what I mean? So, but it's unfortunate. But like I said, Carrano, he always rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know the guy personally, but I never liked him on Total Divas. But like I said, part of me was like, man, did he do this on purpose? Because he got demoted, but who cares? But she wasn't booked right. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, of course, TNA Impact just promoted their Slammiversary just like last year, and of course, who do you see? You see Andrade, you see Samoa Joe, you see.
I ain't even see Andrade.
I mean, that's you see Mickie James, good on La Sombra.
Yeah, I saw it really like I saw Samoa Joe, and I just like I was like doing a couple things. So yeah, I missed Andrade. Wow.
So we'll see. Like I said, it's I was very upset about Samoa Joe.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of things that I don't know, so I'm not touching it just yet.
Okay.
Booker T was on his Hall of Fame podcast, and he was talking about one thing he noticed with Joe is he never seemed like the kind of guy that rocked the ball. He's a utility guy. He said he was never really the guy to kind of push to get back in the ring too much. He's like, look, man, whatever you need to do, I'll do it. You know what I mean? He was kind of comfortable.
Yeah, I was enjoying his show he had on YouTube, where it's like he talks to people about their hobbies and their journeys and stuff.
Yeah, so I don't know that. I don't know if and then some people were saying, well, he didn't get cleared to wrestle, so I don't know if they decided, well, we don't want to pay you this much just to be a commentator. Or I don't know the dynamics of it. I don't know if he just said, look, you can't get cleared, and he asked for his release. You never know. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. I'm leaving it alone. There's a guy that everybody feels like, okay, you guys probably dropped the ball. He had a ton of bad injuries. Every time he seemed like he was gaining momentum, he got a really bad injury that kept him sidelined. So we'll see what happens. I'm not saying anything. Like I said, I've gotten over the releases. That was the only one that really kind of bothered me the most. It's not as bad as Black Thursday. But everybody seems to have landed on their feet okay. Yeah. And they're getting opportunities that they probably didn't have before, especially my guys from the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, Matt Cardona and Brian Myers.
I was going to ask you about that because they took on each other at Rebellion.
Yeah, and then they stopped the match.
Okay, that's what happened.
Yeah, apparently, I think Matt Cardona popped his kneecap out. Ooh. And they threw up the X. So I think he's going to get seen to see what's wrong. I mean, I don't know if this is a storyline. I don't like to say it could be, but they literally stopped the match. Like they stopped the match because he went up for the Rough Rider. That joint buckled, and said he popped his kneecap. They said got it back in place. You know what I mean? But they just want to make sure he didn't tear. Everybody's like, oh, he might. That could be an MCL tear. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
MCL,
how long is that
PCL,
injury?
That's usually a year. How bad it is. You know what I mean? Like that. That's not. He had knee problems before. Like I remember WWE sent him home because they thought he had a really bad knee injury. And it was just a tweak. It wasn't anything major. So that match was supposed to be like a solidifying moment between two best friends turned enemies. Although hard to believe because everybody knows they have a brand together, but fun story. Impact to me is fun wrestling. Like I said, to me, I love to watch that on Saturday mornings. Get me up on Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning. I would love to watch Impact. That's how I feel watching it. Still empty arena matches, but good fun stuff. So I'd rather see more people go to Impact than AEW because AEW just every time they get somebody, they can't even have surprises anymore. It's just like what? The network owns their product. I said that though. Remember what I said when I seen TNT's logo on that ring skirt, I said, see, that's the problem. I said the network gonna have too much control over their product. So if the wrong person gets a hold of their television deal, they are in trouble. It's gonna be WCW all over again because somebody's gonna say, okay, so here's what I want from now on. because the guy who got me that deal is not there anymore. So to me, you're not really safe. And they're like, oh no, but the ratings are good. So that, yeah, cool. Until somebody, TNT hires somebody, decides, okay, I like wrestling too, and here's what we're going to do. Because now that person can have control over your product rather than you, Tony Khan.
Mm-hmm.
Because if Tony Khan says, okay, cool, if they're telling you can't even have surprises, like that's why they made the announcement on Twitter about Big Show and all those things. Like, yeah, because they weren't happy because Sting showed up. They want to take advantage of all the ratings and no surprises. I'm like, dude, half of wrestling is about surprises. A TV person made that decision. You understand me? You're in trouble. You're in trouble. And don't get me wrong, the network always has a say so, because that's why we saw John Cena for years, because they were like, look, somebody just paid us $10 million for this Swiffer commercial, and they want to see John Cena as the lead in. So y'all got to do that. And they're like, okay, that stuff, trust me, I get it. But the fact that you something that drastic, you telling them, yo, you can't have no more surprises. I'm like, yo, you take an element out of wrestling that's supposed to be fun. But what do I know? I just been watching this stuff forever.
Yeah, you hit that right on the head though, because it's well, my issue with them is AEW Dark and Dark Elevation and all that. You know,
why do they have so many dark shows? Where's the light at?
Bingo. You know, and I get WWE has like superstars and all that. Well, they had superstars in main event, but that wasn't broadcasted in a way to make you believe they were showcasing, independent talent. You would have like your locals on there, and it'd be enhancement matches. And if you wanted your wrestling, if you wanted to see some of your guys wrestle, that's where you go to. Good for when you get to the show early, you get to see those matches. But you making me believe that AEW Dark and Dark Elevation is an opportunity for independent wrestlers when they just gonna get jobbed out, and then they're not just like most of them are getting jobbed out. You know what I mean?
Like not even matches, just like
Like how am I supposed to be able to really enjoy and see? Okay, when this person they were AEW Dark, so when they in my local wrestling organization, I want to go see them because I've seen them work. So that's
who's your favorite wrestler in AEW right now? Who's one guy you say when I turn TV on, I gotta see them while I'm not watching?
I don't know. I never really thought about it. That might be a problem. I've never really thought about it. It would probably by default be Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
But because like everybody else, like all right, if they're not there, they're not there. But usually when it is Jericho, because if I'm doing something on Wednesday nights and usually I gotta produce Bible study, and then that ends at most of the time 8:00, 8:10. So then I'll go make sure everybody good in the house. But if I see Jericho on my TV, I'll pause and come back and just to hear what he has to say. Like I don't miss a Jericho segment in one way, shape, or form. There's nobody else like that. I was like, okay. I'll read about it on the internet. If I missed the segment, I'll find the clips on YouTube. But Jericho segments, I want to know what he's going to say. I used to feel that way about Omega, but it seemed like right now he's just kind of like a little all over the place. I don't know what it is. So,
it's weird. I enjoy him more on Impact than I do on AEW. Because I know because he's so highly featured on Impact. I know when to turn to Impact to see Omega. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
AEW's gonna try to drag me through the whole show, and I'm not really here for it half the time.
Do you watch him on Twitch? Do you watch Impact on Twitch?
No. I because it's on my phone, so it's I don't have it on my TV or anything like that. But I try to go back and watch the replays as much as possible. And that's another thing. It's difficult to watch the television, but they always have. Yeah. They do a really good job of advertising that stuff on social media. The best part about Impact is I like with Don Callis and Scott D'Amore, and how they run this stuff now. And these are two TNA originals. You know what I mean? They now kind of have more hands-on control of the companies. They know who they are, and they stick to who they are. Like, okay, we know we're this type brand. We know this is what we do have, what we don't have, and they make sure to constantly feed those platforms where they know people they don't shy away from it. Like they're going to give you a free match on YouTube. They're going to give you all the segments on YouTube based off the show, and you can pretty much watch the whole show on their channel half the time because they like, look, this is we're cost effective. We got to pay talent, but we're going to use whatever vehicle we have, and they kind of embrace it. Like I said, it has a very ECW feel to it because they know what they do have, they know what they don't have, and they just kind of stick to what they do have, and they're using their partnership with AEW to kind of help propel that, because Kenny Omega's on that show every week, for goodness sake. And he's got that title. So now, whether you like it or not, you're going to ask yourself in the world of wrestling, what's next? He's the champion in Impact. This is the most we've talked about Impact in a long time. And if those guys are running the show in this way, Don Callis is really the MVP of all this, because this is the most relevant he has been in a long time. And he's always had his hands on, creative and writing all kind of, for years. But he has made Kenny Omega who he was supposed to be coming from New Japan. He helped him transition to an American audience in a way that nobody really has done before or thought he was going to be able to do. Even since them kind of switching directions when he first comes over, and he wasn't even the face of the company.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Speaking of faces of companies and stuff, face of Monday Night Raw, Bobby Lashley will be defending his WWE Championship at, get this, WrestleMania Backlash.
Yes.
First of all, the name. Mm-hmm. Do you like it?
I'm okay with it because I'm old and I don't care. It's not that serious to me. It shouldn't be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's obvious.
But you can like it or not like it.
Well, it doesn't bother me. Like, people are like, why are you calling it? I say, well, because it's WrestleMania Backlash. So clearly it's going to be
I feel like this is long overdue. I feel like this should have been the name, because truth be told, wrestling really was my dictionary growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I learned what a backlash was, because of WrestleMania. It was like, so to me, it just makes sense. WrestleMania Backlash. Of course.
And I don't know if they're going to try to do this live as well. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like,
I haven't heard nothing.
Yeah, but to me, it's like, okay, cool. This is clearly going to have some type of something to do with WrestleMania. Some of the matchups, it may be a lot of rematches and stuff like that, or the fallout of what happened in WrestleMania. So this is, it's different. I'm at the age now where I'm watching wrestling, and I say, okay, we can't hold on to what we've always known forever. You have to evolve. If it's different, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, they're not going to keep it. I don't think we're in the age where they're going to keep forcing stuff down our throats, to the point where they're going to keep making us like, oh, we're going to force the situation even though it's bad. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Hey, they figured out how to get Roman.
If you're not stubborn enough to keep on, because he was on his Cena-ish, like he was on his way, and they was like, dude, let's just figure it's much more profitable now. Yeah. To say, look, like he's not doing 1,000 Make-A-Wish Foundations a month. His merchandise is not a box of Fruity Pebbles. We can actually do this.
Because now I believe his merchandise will sell more than it ever did before. Because like these shirts, I mean, he's got to acknowledge me, the head of the table, show up and leave, or show up, wreck everyone and leave. I'm like, man, but we got to get to him later, but not too much longer. But Bobby Lashley, he's going to defend the title against Drew and Braun Strowman. Now I feel like Lashley can leave WrestleMania Backlash with the title. I was kind of feeling like Drew's probably gonna get him, and they might have an exchange of program. But now in this triple threat match after Monday Night Raw, I kind of feel confident in Lashley.
I think the one who benefits the most from this is Braun Strowman, because they're putting him in main event scenarios, and that's what you want for your next main event guy. You want to constantly program the viewer to associate a guy or a girl in these main event situations, because eventually you're going to say, yeah, their time is coming, because they're constantly in the conversation. And I think that's where Braun belongs, as big as he is, as well as he's doing, as loyal as he is, kind of stepping up last year during the pandemic at WrestleMania at the Performance Center. He took on a heavy load. He took on a risk that was, but it was his getting his feet wet, you know what I mean? And Strowman's definitely a top guy. He's a young top guy. He's not, to me, he was being labeled as a Big Show type guy, but he's doing more to be, what he lacks in size and presence as the Big Show had. I think he's just, by him losing weight, he's so much more capable of doing different things in the ring. He can tell a different type of story instead of just being a giant monster. And to me, that's the part. But Lashley has got to go up against what is it called? This battle of the behemoths. He has that part of
Titans.
That's what I was trying to say. He's got to have that, battle of the Titans, that type war because he's such a bigger guy, and they got to take advantage of all the bigger guys they got because it's not that many. You know what I mean? And I think, Vince is really like, we got to establish Bobby as one of those guys. He looks the part. He's here now. He needs some grooming. He
wears a suit.
I mean, yeah, he looks good in the suit. Like, he's the guy you can. I watch him cut a promo when he first became TNA champion against EC3. They had a press conference, which ended up in a fight. Everything was great about that whole situation.
I remember that.
Until the actual fight had to happen. And I was like, man.
I'm laughing because I remember this exact conversation we had with this.
And I was like, man, this was really good until the fight started. But I was impressed with Bobby Lashley. So it's this grooming that you're watching. You know what I mean? And I'm glad they're like, look, he's a guy that I feel like, okay, at one point we all felt like they were trying to push for Keith Lee. And now they're like, no, let's go with Lashley. It just makes sense. Which why it makes sense why they had to get rid of Hurt Business, because Vince is trying to get Bobby Lashley to be a guy. And it's like, on one hand, we're mad because we lost our Black Four Horsemen group, but on the other hand, Vince is trying to solidify this guy as a champion of champions. And I'm like, should we really be mad? Should we really disrupt that? Because sometimes it's easier to get one foot into the door instead of 6, instead of 8. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's like, man, nobody wants you to.
But it worked with the New Day.
Yeah, it worked the New Day, but who in the New Day was like Kofi, as great as Kofi was, he was a transitional champion. Because look how he lost the title. He was not trying to be established. Kofi was already a top guy. Kofi got a loyalty run because he deserved it. It was his time was long overdue, and his run was applicable.
I like that word better. I don't like the 6-month transition. Well, 8.
He was
6 months. I don't like the transitional word. I like the loyalty word better.
When you look at what he did, he carried that title long enough where there was nothing going on. There's no outside of his original major battle with Daniel Bryan. There was no real story to it. He got a loyalty run until they
got his beef. His got his get back with Orton.
They revisited that with the Star Maker, Randy Orton, the Star Maker, and it's like he was not being groomed to be. This is going to be my next money maker. It was Kofi deserves his opportunity. Let's have him do what he does best. And he didn't have to change who he was. He didn't have to break up the New Day. It wasn't no elaborate story behind it.
Oh. He got the CB run.
Are you shocked?
I just realized that.
I'm looking at you like, are you shocked? Like,
no. You know how like when you start thinking and then you realize it, and then it's like you put the pieces together. Like, yo, that's really what happened. That was the CB run.
And like I said, if you don't know, look how he lost the title. It had no meaning. There was no get back. It was no once it was gone, it was gone. Great job, Kofi. We appreciate what you did. You deserved it. But now we got another story we got to get into. And it was not a slight against Kofi. It was just that they were preparing for the next big thing, which involved Brock Lesnar and that whole dynamic in which was coming up, because that was their moneymaker. That was their moneymaker. So that was a business decision at the end of the day, which I can understand. Like I said, you can not like it all you want, but the reality is that's how they run their business. They're not doing anything new. Bobby Lashley's different. He's trying to establish this guy as a man. He's not just giving him no loyalty run, like, oh, well, he deserves it. So no, I see something in you, and I think you're ready now. That's why.
Do you think for all right, looking back at it, was it the win over WrestleMania? I was saying, was it the win over WrestleMania for you?
What you mean?
When he won the match at WrestleMania, was it that when you said, okay, they're establishing him as a star, rather than the win on Monday Night Raw was nice, right? Yeah. It was over the Miz. It got him into WrestleMania. But did that win over Drew McIntyre cleanly really help? Like you say, boom, this is what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's how I knew, because they gave him that title win at Mania. You know why? Because he's the first black champion to defend the title at WrestleMania and actually win it. He has a lot of
male
champion. First male
Jazz
champion.
did it.
well, I mean like WWE champion, not just champion in general. First,
gotcha.
And I'm like, that's okay. That he needed that win. They gave Drew that pop. They gave Lashley the win. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay, cool. They're establishing him as a top guy because Drew was such a dominant champion for so long, and for the way that he beat him, it made Lashley look that much more dominant in what he was doing, which made sense. I'm like, okay, cool. If you notice McMahon's patterns after a while, they're not always the same, but there's certain things, certain elements, especially when it comes to the bigger guys, you can pick up on. And that's one of the things that I've noticed. I'm like, okay, cool. The fact that he had him tap out, they're trying to make him look strong. And the best way to look strong is one, you beat up behemoths or you beat up established titans. And that's what Drew McIntyre was. And that's what this match with Drew McIntyre and Strowman is, because now these are obstacles he has to overcome. And imagine big shoulder Bobby Lashley once again dealing with Drew McIntyre and then taking out Strowman or you know, whatever, however the match turns out or however it ends. We're still writing the story of Bobby Lashley's WWE run, and it looks extensive as of right now. Every time you can tell about their intentions for the champion based off their run, based on what happens in their run, what stories being told, what obstacles they overcome. That's what I said about Kofi. There was not much story to his run. It was just here and there versus monumental spot here, monumental spot here, monumental spot here, overcoming this, overcome that. Like Drew's was dealing with the pandemic. He had to from the pandemic hitting in the Performance Center all the way up to WrestleMania. Now it was almost full circle, you know. So that's what I'm watching with, like, there's almost no room for the Hurt Business, because now you have to write for the Hurt Business when it's like, no, we're trying to establish Lashley as the guy, not the Hurt Business as the Four Horsemen.
Yeah.
Which to me, they did the same thing with Triple H. Listen, we deep now. We an hour and 30 minutes in. They did the same thing with Triple H. Triple H was DX, money, everything. Triple H was a top guy. He wasn't a main eventer. Still a top guy. It's like Kofi. Kofi was always a top guy. He didn't need to win the title. He was already a top guy, main event guy. You know, he won a title. It was like, okay, cool. He didn't need it to establish anything. It was something he deserved. It solidified where he already was. You know what I mean? Lashley's still in that space. They tried it with Keith Lee. Keith Lee wasn't ready. Vince, you see him backstage telling like, yo, you're not ready. I'm not picking with you. I know what I'm looking for, and you're not giving it to me. So you got to go back. You got to fix some things.
Yep.
Lashley got to the point with the same thing. Drew did the same thing. They had to leave. Those guys had to leave and come back. And like, okay, I'm ready now. And Vince like, okay, cool. Once you show me that you're ready, I can put you in the best space to do that. And that's where we are. Triple H, same thing. Once you put me in a space to do that, let me show you. He left DX. And then once he got established, guess what? DX got back together. I still think at some point the Hurt Business is going to get back together, but they got to establish Lashley as the top guy, and those guys are the accessories to the piece. Not let's get the Hurt Business over, because it's not about the Hurt Business. Just like the Shield. The Shield, when the Shield first got established, we were always trying to figure out who was the Shield supposed to be built around. At one point, we kept saying, oh, the Shield's just there to get Dean Ambrose over. And every week, the leader changed, because you saw who was standing in the middle. When Ambrose was doing this thing, he was always in front. Yep. When Rollins started to talk better and started to get in his bag, because Rollins was taking all the major bumps at first.
Yeah, guess what you said.
Rollins was in the front at one point, and then after a while, when Roman Reigns found his voice, then he was in the middle. It was like you can never see who the leader was, to the point where all three of those guys became all three top guys. Like there was no room for the Shield anymore, because they all became three established brands. Ain't no Shield. You can't put the Shield back together anymore. They're a super group now. They were a faction before. Now they're gonna be like Evolution. Like that's if you bring those guys together now, there's nobody for them. Who's going to take them out? There's no way, unless you got a new up-and-coming group that's got to dethrone them. But by the time that happens, I expect them to be really old. I expect them to be in their 40s, almost 50s, like Evolution was in their last run. But that, once again, these are the patterns of what I'm watching Vince do as a fan over the years that you have to pay attention to. Don't gotta like it. Like I said, I say it over and over. You have the freedom to feel the way you want and to like what you like, whatever. That's all fine and dandy. But it does not surprise me when I see certain things happen, or when certain things transpire or don't transpire based off the pattern we've been watching for years. Boom, boom, boom.
You know,
breakdown.
You went deep.
Listen to me.
And I've been doing this.
Are you taking notes?
We did a show that had to get scrubbed because the internet's stupid. The Attitude Era. We're gonna revisit that, because I want to talk. After World War III, after Macho Man won the belt, Hulk Hogan had a promo. He said, "You know what? We're gonna talk turkey, dude, because I want a shot at my belt." You know, I have all these random promos memorized in my head, but I want to talk turkey about that Attitude Era we're gonna do a show. I don't know whether it's gonna be on the podcast or the flagship, but we're gonna talk about those runs because, like I said, I don't like the fact that our era of wrestling has been attacked by these subliminals. People out there saying ruthless aggression was better, and
where did that come from?
And the work rate and the matches and the 5-star and all this. We didn't give a beep about that stuff. So, we're going to be determined. We'll figure it out. We'll talk off online because you just went to a whole new dimension, and we got to kind of come back and really break it down for our audience because I think I want to go over a lot of those champions. I'm talking the Mick Foley runs. Big Show had a quick run in there. Kurt Angle had a run, especially that one, because that one was key, even though he had a run, but they had to get the title off of him because they knew they was going Austin Rock. Jericho's another one.
Yep.
So I can't wait to do that show.
It'll be called The Patterns of Professional Wrestling. Pay close attention. So look, he's writing down notes. Pay attention to the patterns of professional wrestling. I hate when they act like this stuff is new. Like, bro, don't brag about watching wrestling all this time and then get pissed off when you see something you've seen already. Like, yo, what you mean? Like, what are you still getting mad about this stuff? It's not the first time this happened.
Yeah. As we get ready to get out of here, this could be a sad note this Friday. As now, it won't be sad. It won't be sad. But Daniel Bryan, he's challenging Roman Reigns for the championship, and Roman said, "When I beat you, I don't want to see you no more."
Oh, great! That means
I have to say, as a Daniel Bryan fan, this is the way I would want to see him go out. A few years ago, we saw him forced in retirement, and I felt robbed because especially
the height of his career.
The height of his career, making more money. I mean, being more marketable than ever. If you ever get a chance, I do you like listen to ebooks?
Yeah. No, I'm definitely okay with it. Yep, I'm okay with it.
I think I might be able to send you.
Wait a minute. Does it have an awkward voice like, "Hello, my name is Daniel Bryan. This is my forward. I'm from Washington, and it was cold." Like, I don't like that kind of stuff.
Well, he's talking about it, but then he has a guy that talks like this, and he does all the narrations. And it's so cool. I think I might be able to. I don't know. I gotta see if I get like a credit or whatever because I bought the book, and I think it's like if you invite somebody, if that's their first download.
And this is the old one, right? The original one that came out.
Yeah. I got shout out to my former manager Steve Brayback, gave me the actual book.
I remember.
But then, when I had a credit, I bought the audio book because I was like, it's a lot to sit there and read the pages. So I can listen to an audio book while I'm, playing a video game or doing whatever. But it's just incredible. And it's just like it's the journey of him going through that whole weekend, right? And then when at that time, by the time I listened to it, he had already lost to Kofi. But I was thinking, like, man, when that happened,
this is new.
No, the book, yes. But I'm saying,
Kofi?
No, by the time I listened to it.
Oh, okay.
He had already,
Gotcha.
But it probably would have been harder to listen to at that time in 2015-ish because, you sit back and you think about everything that he had went through, right? And all of that. And I'm like, dog, my man has really like went through it. But now, at this point, if he loses, which he will, I'm 100% sure, he's got a better chance than Rich Swann did. But I feel good about it. I feel good that I got to not only see him have that yes movement, but also come back and have multiple 5-star matches with AJ Styles. I mean,
indeed, some of my favorites.
Those matches, whether they was in the what was the tie up with the rope match or just the classics, having that match with Brock Lesnar. Some
of my dream matches that I wanted since like 14, 15. 16.
Yeah, he said that there was a quote saying he didn't think he was needed for the triple threat match between Roman and Edge, and I was like, I
don't trust Daniel Bryan. Let me put this out there. I don't trust Daniel Bryan. He's on the same level with Chris Jericho and Kevin Nash.
Yeah,
he's a guy that wants to protect the business,
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy that wants to kind of protect, all that. So he's somebody I don't trust. So let me just make that disclaimer. He could be spinning us right now. So
yeah, he could be. But what you think going in Friday night? We saying farewell, or you just?
I think so. He's been teasing kind of part-time and retirement and kind of backstage being a writer, being a host. So I just like, look, man, if all this is going on, I can't ask any more of what you've given us.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything you said, man, I've just been more than grateful. You know what I mean? I think the biggest thing about me now is I'm so content with a lot. I've gotten Samoa Joe in WWE. I've got to have Christian back in WWE. I've got to have AJ Styles in WWE. I've got to have Adam Cole, Kevin Owens, Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, like Sami Zayn, all those guys that, I didn't think would ever have these runs. And they had good runs. They weren't as long or may not have been what we liked. But I thank God we have an archive. I can go back and watch those matches anytime I want. I've got my collectible action figures. I can't ask any more of that man if he decides that I want to hang it up now or I want to become part-time. More than happy, more than grateful. What my one half of my current favorite, him and AJ Styles, 1A, 1B. To me, it's all going to be fun, joyous. Like I said, I have no complaints. Not at this point in my life. Not at this point as a wrestling fan. There's nothing to complain about. Like I said, man, I think the biggest, it would shock me if he beat Reigns, but I have a hard time believing that Reigns, where he is right now, you know what I mean? It would shake things up tremendously, you know what I mean? Because I think that's probably the one title he probably has never had is Universal Championship. Even if it's for a transitional run or a quick run, you know what I mean, for a week and a half or just to the pay-per-view and call it a day, you know what I mean? So I can't.
Are you ready for Cesaro?
Absolutely. Yeah, he's groomed. Like this is why I said I can't be mad. Like they're pushing guys. Like Vince is not denying people. He's just waiting till they're ready. Yeah. And when the minute Cesaro came out there to approach the range right after WrestleMania, I was like, see, this is exactly what the heck I'm talking about. You know what I mean? You still got Seth Rollins there. He's a guy that he has worked with. He's ready, and if he's not ready, they're gonna make sure that he's ready because they're like, yo, we need new dance partners, and you've been here all this time and you're ready. Everybody he's a fan favorite immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, bro.
Yeah. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I'm tired. No, I don't have final thoughts. Wrestling fans get on my nerves, yo. It's like, nah, like I said, man. We back at it. We do what we always do. We try to educate. We try to inform. We try to bring a new perspective, man. So let's just keep rolling, man. Having a good time. 10 years in the game. Celebrating our 10th year anniversary. Doing all this stuff. So it's been fun. Plenty to come. Plenty to do. More fun to have. So let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Folks, if you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button. You guys know where to find us. Apple, Google, Spotify, you name it, we are there. But for those who do not know how to find us, I'm going to put it right there on your screen. And yeah, we on iHeart too. iHeart, Pandora, Podcast. I'm a Spotify person, but you know what? I like to get on the Apple too for podcasts. I usually leave Apple for my music.
I'm using Apple Podcast guy.
Oh, Apple Podcasts. You know what it was? Because they downloaded and it was clogging my machine. My phone. Yep. So I was like, Spotify don't download it. It just like is available. So that's the only reason why I changed. And then if I was like listening on a computer, I can, it all syncs up together.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Wrestling Wrealm. It's that simple. Just follow us right there. We engage all the time. I'm always talking. And of course, you want to support the show, go to buymeacoffee.com. Help us out. We got production costs that we got to pay. So if you want to help us out, go ahead and do that. Just buy us a coffee or buy a pizza.
Or buy me a MacBook.
Hey, definitely. If you're feeling generous, you want to go ahead and we'll even put your name on the show.
Yeah.
An episode that is.
and buy me a pizza because I still didn't get one for getting tricked of doing this show. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's uploaded on YouTube. Trust me.
Yeah.
Go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Wrestling Wrealm. You'll see it says where's the pizza. There's a reason for it. Check it out.
Where's the pizza? Well, until next time, folks, he's the real Dwayne Allen. I'm Brian H. Waters. Too sweet.
Brian
Houston, we have a problem.
Yes!